I'll never forget the way my sister smirked at me across the dinner table. Like she knew she had won. Like my wedding wasn't mine anymore. Because in her mind, her kids weren't just invited, they were entitled. And when I told her no, she didn't just get upset, she went to war. But what she didn't realize was that if she wanted to make my wedding a battlefield, I was going to make sure she lost in front of everyone. So, if you've ever had someone guilt trip you, manipulate you, or try to bulldoze your boundaries just because they think they deserve special treatment, hit that like button, subscribe, and buckle up, because this is one of the most satisfying you push too far revenge stories you'll hear. I'm 29 years old, and I was 4 months away from what was supposed to be the happiest day of my life, my wedding. A day I had dreamed about since I was a teenager, not because I wanted some princess fantasy, but because I wanted one day, just one, that was peaceful, mine. My fiancé and I had been planning for over a year. We paid for almost everything ourselves, with just a small contribution from my parents. And from the very beginning, we agreed on one simple rule: child-free wedding. Not because we hated kids, we didn't, but because we wanted an adult environment. Open bar, late ceremony, loud music, a romantic atmosphere. And honestly, we didn't want to hear a toddler screaming during our vows. We didn't want kids sprinting across the dance floor. We didn't want chaos. We wanted calm. So we made it clear: no children, no exceptions. Friends, cousins, coworkers, everyone. And that should have been the end of it. Except my sister doesn't understand the word no. My sister Rachel is 34, and she has 3 kids, ages 7, 5, and 3. And when I say they're a lot, I mean they are human hurricanes. At every family gathering, it's the same routine. One kid climbing furniture, one kid grabbing food with sticky hands, one kid screaming because someone looked at them wrong. And Rachel, she just laughs, shrugs, sips her wine like she's watching someone else's problem. Oh, kids will be kids. They're just expressing themselves. You're too uptight. Every time. And the thing is, it wasn't just annoying, it was exhausting. It was like being trapped in someone else's chaos while they refused to take responsibility. So when we sent out our save the dates, and right there in clean, bold letters it said, adults only, child-free event, I knew this was coming. I just didn't know how ugly she'd make it. 2 weeks later, my phone rang. Rachel. At first, her voice was casual, almost playful. So I saw the invite. The no kids thing doesn't apply to family, right? I remember gripping my phone tighter, like my body already knew what was about to happen. I kept my voice calm. It applies to everyone, including family. Silence. Then her tone snapped cold. You expect me to just dump my kids with a babysitter all day? I blinked. The wedding was in the evening, and it was 4 months away. I even offered, I can help pay for childcare if that makes it easier. And that's when she exploded. Wow, so you really are doing this. Doing what? Having boundaries? She hissed. You're being selfish, unrealistic, anti-family. My stomach tightened. Then she hit me with the classic line, you don't understand because you don't have kids. I swallowed hard. You're right, I don't, but this is still my wedding. And that's when she hung up, just like that. But the real punishment was only beginning. The next day, my mom called. Her voice was already heavy. Rachel is heartbroken because she couldn't bring 3 unruly kids to an adult wedding. Mom continued, she's been crying. She says you're excluding her kids, punishing her for being a mom. Punishing her? My chest burned. I wasn't punishing anyone. I was setting a rule. Mom sighed. Can't you just make an exception for your sister to keep the peace? And there it was, that familiar family pressure, the unspoken rule. Rachel gets what she wants or everyone suffers. I said no, firmly. If I make one exception, everyone will demand one, and I don't want my wedding ruined by disruptions. Mom's voice sharpened. Do you really want to start your marriage with this kind of drama? That sentence hit like a slap, like I was the one causing drama, not the grown woman throwing a tantrum because she didn't get special treatment. Then came the group chat. Rachel sent a novel-length message. I'm deeply disappointed. This decision is hurting my kids. They were so excited to see you get married. They don't understand why they're not wanted. My jaw clenched. And then, if my kids aren't welcome, maybe I'm not welcome either. I typed carefully, forcing politeness through gritted teeth. I understand this is upsetting, but the rule applies to everyone. I hope you'll still come, but I respect your choice either way. That should have been the end. Except, she went nuclear. You're choosing a party over family. You're becoming someone ugly. Marriage is already changing you for the worse. My hands shook, not from anger, from disbelief. This wasn't about kids. It was about control. And for the first time, I realized Rachel didn't want inclusion. She wanted power. So I stopped responding, but she wasn't done. Last weekend, we had a family dinner. Tension sat in the air like smoke. Rachel barely looked at me. Her kids were, of course, running wild. One kid knocked over a glass. Another smeared frosting on the couch. Rachel didn't blink. Then dessert came, and Rachel suddenly spoke loudly, dramatically. I guess my kids aren't good enough for some people. The room went dead silent. Every fork froze. I felt heat crawl up my neck. My heart pounded. I said quietly, "This is not the time or place." Rachel laughed. "Oh, right. Wouldn't want kids ruining the mood." That's when something in me snapped. Not anger, not yelling, just clarity. I stood up. My chair scraped the floor. I looked around the table. I love you all, but I'm not doing this. And I walked out, hands shaking, eyes burning, because somehow my wedding had turned into Rachel's crusade. The turning point. That night, I sat with my fiancé, and for the first time, I admitted something out loud. She's going to try to show up with them anyway. He nodded immediately. She will. And the thought made my stomach twist, because I could already picture it. Rachel arriving with all 3 kids, daring me to cause a scene, forcing me to either surrender or look like the villain. And suddenly, I understood. Rachel wasn't bluffing. She was planning an ambush. So I made a decision. If she wanted a public moment, she was going to get one, just not the one she expected. Revenge planning. The next week, I contacted our wedding coordinator. I asked one question: what happens if someone brings children anyway? The coordinator didn't hesitate. We can have security turn them away. A slow calm washed over me. Next, I sent out an official email to every guest. Reminder, this is a strictly child-free event. No exceptions will be permitted at entry. Then, I did one final thing. I called Rachel. She answered with icy silence. I said softly, "I just want to be clear. If you show up with the kids, you will be turned away at the door." Her voice sharpened. "You wouldn't." "I would." Silence. Then she spat. "You're destroying this family." I whispered, "No, Rachel, you are, because you can't stand not being the center of attention for one day." And I hung up. My hands trembled, but my chest felt lighter than it had in months. Wedding day arrived. The venue glowed with candlelight, soft music, adults laughing, champagne clinking, peace. Exactly what we wanted. Then The doors opened, and there she was, Rachel, and behind her, 3 kids, dressed up, sticky hands already tugging at decorations. My stomach dropped. She looked smug, like she'd won, like she expected everyone to fold. Security stepped forward. "Ma'am, this is a child-free event." Rachel's smile faltered. "You're seriously doing this?" The coordinator appeared beside her. "Yes, no children are allowed inside." Rachel's voice rose. "This is my sister's wedding!" Security didn't budge. Rachel looked around wildly, expecting sympathy, but all she got were uncomfortable stares. Finally, her eyes locked on me. Pure rage. I walked forward slowly, my dress brushing the floor, heart pounding, and I said calmly, clearly, "I told you, this rule applies to everyone." Her face twisted. "You're humiliating me." I tilted my head. "No, Rachel, you tried to humiliate me for months. You tried to force me. You tried to make my wedding about you." Her kids began whining. Rachel hissed, "I'll remember this." And I smiled. "I hope you do." Then she turned, stormed out, dragging 3 screaming children behind her, and the doors closed. Silence. Then the music resumed, and I breathed. For the first time in a year, I felt free. That night, I realized something important. Boundaries don't destroy families. Entitlement does. And sometimes the most powerful revenge is simply refusing to be controlled. If this story gave you chills, smash that like button, subscribe, and tell us in the comments, would you have turned her away? And what's the most satisfying boundary you've ever had to enforce? Because trust me, sometimes the sweetest payback is standing your ground.